Today I am talking about 4 common mistakes that you might be making in your planner that are stopping you from making progress and achieving your goals, and how to fix them. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help busy people to simplify their schedules and spaces. Now, we all know how important it is to have some sort of planner or productivity system where you write everything down and then tick it off as you go. And that can be a physical, planner or notebook, of which I have many. It could also be a digital planner or an app or whatever you use. But if you are not using it effectively, it can actually hinder you. So let's look at the first mistake, and to me this is the biggest and the most common. If you do not have this one nailed down, you are always going to struggle with priorities. And that is treating your calendar items and your to-do items as the same thing. Calendar items are the set in stone stuff. They happen on a specific date, maybe even at a specific time, and if you miss those, you've missed out. The moment has passed. They are things like birthdays, events, appointments, meetings, and yes, sometimes even tasks, as long as those tasks are time or date specific, like things with a deadline. To-do items, on the other hand, are flexible. Yes, you might want to do them on a certain day, but they don't necessarily have to be done on a certain day. You really need to differentiate between the set in stone stuff and the flexible stuff, because those are 2 of the fundamentals of planning. There are 4, I go into the other 2 in my course, the Productivity Power Up, so make sure that you are signed up for that. The link is in the description. But those 2 things alone, time sensitive and non-time sensitive, will go a long way to helping you figure out what is urgent and important. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I don't want to keep those things in separate places. I want to be able to see both. And yes, that's totally fine. Just be sure that there is some visual difference between them, that you are visually separating them, so at a glance you can see what is time sensitive and what is not. For example, if you are writing something down, maybe you could highlight the calendar items, the time sensitive stuff. You could write it in a different color pen or marker, whatever you use. You could maybe keep one side of your page for calendar items and then the other side for your to-do list. Or if you are planning digitally, then maybe you could write your calendar items in bold or put a little clock icon before them. But your calendar items, your time sensitive stuff, that is the framework for your week, and everything else then should be built around that. Mistake number 2 then is not doing a review either at the end of the week or the month or however often you want to do one. If you are not taking the time to identify what's working and what's not working, chances are you are going to be making the same mistakes over and over again. You are going to continue to waste your time doing things that do not need to be done, things that are just a waste of your time. Listen, autopilot is great, yes, and it helps you to get things done quicker, it helps you to fly through your to-do list. But should those items even be on your to-do list? Are they contributing in a positive way to your life? Are they adding value and benefit to your life? Or are they just busy work? So sit down on a regular basis and evaluate the things that you have done that past week, month, or however long you're doing it, and give them a mark from 1 to 4. 1 is for the stuff that was just a waste of time. You didn't see any results. It didn't add anything positive to your life. It was just a huge time suck. Without evaluating and doing a regular review, those are the things that you might not even notice and you might continue to do. You'd be so swept up in kind of the current of doing and all of that, keeping busy stuff, that you might not even notice that it's just not worth it. Going forward, then, you want to limit the number of those tasks as much as possible, preferably cutting them out completely. 2 then is for stuff that kind of, yeah, moved the needle a little bit, but really probably could have been doing something a little bit more important with your time. Again, this is the kind of stuff that you want to be limiting as much as possible. 3 then is for the productive stuff. You are getting things done, making progress. It's not the highest level stuff, maybe you could have worked a little bit harder or been a little bit more focused, but overall, you're doing okay. The first thing you want to do here is to look at those carefully, really examine them and be honest with yourself about whether or not they were actually productive. Because remember, there is a massive difference between doing stuff that is actually moving you closer to your goals, doing stuff that is getting you some form of achievement or accomplishment. And then there's just busy work where, yeah, you're getting stuff done, but that type of thing is not really making huge ripples in your life. And then second here, once you have identified those things, look at how you could make them better. Look at how you could tweak them to take them from a 3 to a 4. Speaking of 4, that is for the high level stuff. This is when you are working on your most important goals. You're doing things that are adding huge benefit and value to your life, or you are actively resting. Because remember, resting and recharging are vital parts of your productivity. Let's face it, without them, you're not getting anything else done. Now, hear me when I say actively resting and recharging, not pissing around and procrastinating. Actively, consciously, fully resting and recharging. And this does not have to mean, lying down and doing absolutely nothing, but it is fully engaging in an activity that relaxes you, calms you, soothes you, inspires you, or something that just makes you come alive again. When it comes to planning out the next few weeks of your life, make sure that you are including even more of those types of things. By evaluating what you are doing and why you're doing it, you will very clearly be able to see what you can just cut out and what are the things that you should focus on more so that you will get better and better results. Again, I go into this in so much more detail in the course, The Productivity Power Up, but if you are not evaluating and then making changes based on that evaluation, you essentially are going to be doing the same things over and over again. You're going to be stuck in Groundhog Day doing all of that busy work, but really getting nowhere. Mistake number 3 is a big one, and this is such an easy trap to fall into for beginners and pro planners alike, and that is going big. It is, creating all the fancy spreads and using all the stickers and just going all out, different color pens, washi tape, etc. It's thinking that the more complicated the system is, the better. Now, look, you already know what I'm going to say, but don't take the fun out of it for yourself. All I want is for you to question why you are doing those things or why you want those things. Are they really helping you to create an actionable plan? Listen, if you want to paint it and put washi tape on it and make it pretty, you go right ahead. If it makes you happy, have at it. But recognize the difference between the activity of enjoyment, having a creative outlet, and the activity of planning and executing on your goals. If you do not have a good system in place, all the stickers in the world won't help you. Practical first, pretty second. Get the basics down and then dress them up however you please. Again, the Productivity Power Up is where it's at when it comes to setting a solid foundational planning system that is not only going to set you up for success, but it's also going to ensure that you have plenty of time in your schedule for self-care. Mistake number 4 is allowing the urgent to overtake the important. You may have heard of the Eisenhower matrix, where essentially you categorize tasks based on how urgent or important they are. Those are the two labels. Now, even though urgent tasks can't necessarily be ignored, the first question you should be asking yourself is whether a task is important. Why? Well, just because a task is urgent doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it. And then on the flip side, just because something isn't urgent doesn't necessarily mean that you can scrap it. So urgency is not a great benchmark to start with. Importance is. Because if something is important, you should be doing it. Maybe not immediately, urgently, but sometime soon. So always importance first. Let importance be the barrier that stands between a task and your to-do list, like the bouncer, if you will. Importance is the bouncer on the door, stopping any old scruffy task from entering your life. Have you made any of these mistakes? Let me know. And if you like the idea of having a bouncer for your life, stopping all the non-priorities from showing up and gate crashing your party, you definitely want my course, The Productivity Power Up. Click the link in the description for loads more info. Don't want to bore you here. And let's start filtering out all of the unwanted stuff from your schedule and freeing up at least an hour a day that's just for you. Go raibh míle maith. Agus feicimid mé sibh go luath. Slán.